Monday, November 11, 2013. This is Mercedes Diesel Guy, and this is my 1998 Volvo V70. I've been working on the front suspension, and I hope to finish it up today. You can see I've got an all-new strut in here, sway bar link, brand new control arm down there, all the associated strut hardware, not to mention a new inner tie rod, outer tie rod end, steering rack boot. So the passenger side is already solid, and I just wanted to give you a couple of hints. First off, on control arm removal, and I'm going to get to the other side of the car for that. Now, I didn't have much trouble removing the control arm on the passenger side, but the driver's side really fought me. Those are the two brackets, and you have a bolt going through each bracket. And basically, you want to loosen those. But the best way I found to do this was to loosen the bolts but not remove them entirely. And then there is a ball joint pinch bolt, which actually goes through right here. You want to remove that. Thankfully it did not snap off like it did on the Subaru for me. And once you have that removed, I actually was able to use a pry bar on the passenger side and just pop out the control arm. It wasn't anywhere near so easy on the driver's side, where the ball joint was kind of seized into the steering knuckle. So as you can see, I've been spraying it down with PB Blaster for a while, but that didn't help too much. So in the end, what I did was I went in, starting from the front of the car here, and let's see if I can show you here. I got a pry bar in here between the axle and the knuckle, and I got a pry bar on top of the ball joint itself, and I was able to press the ball joint down just a little bit until it was almost flush with the steering knuckle. And I found once I had moved the ball joint down a bit, then the best thing to do was at that point completely remove the bolts from the control arm, pull the controlling arm out of the brackets, and then hit it with a hammer a few times, and then the control arm just completely popped down. And in the end, even with the seized ball joint, this only took me a couple of minutes, whereas I'd been fighting with this control arm for hours before that. So that's my tip. Remove those bolts, loosen those bolts, but don't remove them. Wedge something in there to get the ball joint moving. Then remove the bolts and hit the control arm itself with a hammer. So that's that. And I also wanted to give you a tip here on working with the tie rods. You can see I've already done this side of the car here also. And basically, I found the best way to do this is that once I got the old outer tie rod end off, and I got the boot off, on the driver's side of the car, I found the best thing to do was to grip the inner tie rod with a nice solid pair of vice grips to get it going. And let me show you the old one. I'll show you how I did that. So here is one of the old inner tie rods, and as you can see, the joint in there is kind of loose. I've seen worse, but I figured it was best just to replace these while I was in there. Anyhow, what I did was I gripped it right here with a good solid pair of vice grips, and then I was able to loosen it, and I was able to get it in and tighten it up the same way. I couldn't find an exact torque specification for these, so I just put them back on as tight as I could. So I've never had a problem doing it that way before. Your mileage may vary, but that's the best way I found to do it. There are flats here for using a tie rod removal socket, and I did borrow a tie rod removal set from the auto parts store, but unfortunately it didn't have the right size socket in it, so I had to improvise. So, and actually, one more helpful hint here. This is something I just learned, and I felt it was just another good thing to emphasize. You can see I have the passenger side control arm bolted in, and I actually made a mistake here. Thankfully, it's not too late to fix this mistake. Basically, I installed the control arm and I tightened down the bolts, which you'd think is the way to do it. But apparently, what you have to do is, before you torque those bolts down, you actually have to get a jack here underneath the control arm. Best to put it under the ball joint and raise the control arm to vehicle ride height. And you might want to just probably a good idea to disconnect the sway bar link before you do that. But you raise the control arm to ride height, to standard vehicle ride height, and then you torque the bolts. I'm not 100% sure why you have to do that, but I have heard that on other cars. I'm not sure if that's an alignment thing or if it's to protect the bushings, but since I haven't put any weight on this yet, I just tightened those down. I shouldn't have any problem loosening them, and from that point, just raising the control arm and tightening them down. So I hope these helpful hints are indeed helpful. So this is Mercedes Diesel Guy. Thanks for watching.